Hi everyone, this is Carrie here from Carrie Small Plate, and today I want to share with you in this webinar my top, it's called the Eat Well, Move Smart webinar, and I want to share with you here my top 5 weight loss or fat loss myths and how you can actually bust them. So I have a presentation prepared. I'll share that now straight away, and we can get down to it straight away. So let's go and see how we get on. Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen. So that will pop up on your screen in a moment. I'm really looking forward to sharing this with everybody now. We're taking some time to go through the top 8 fat loss myths or fat loss maybe mistakes people make and things like that. So I'm going to go through them. I call it the Eat Well, Move Smart webinar, and that will become clear in a few minutes. I'll show you exactly what I mean by that. But so I'll go through each of them one by one. I don't want to take up too much time, but I think some of the points will be interesting, and you should be able to take some good nuggets of wisdom from them as well, and things you can actually implement after this webinar too. So the first one, myth number 1, of course I know why I want to lose weight. And that might seem obvious, like if I asked you, like why do you want to lose weight, or why do you want to achieve fat loss, things like that. And you might say, well, I know I want to be a size X, or I want to be, weigh XY on the scales and things like that. But if I really ask you, why do you want to lose weight? Do you know why? For some people, it could be they have a wedding coming up, or the summer is around the corner. There's some event coming up or something like that. And in those cases, a lot of the time, the weight loss goals are short term. And often, unfortunately, the weight loss success in those situations will be short term too. You probably noticed it yourself. You have a wedding coming up, for example. You really want to fit into that size 14 dress, whatever it is. You work hard for a couple of weeks. You really cut back, maybe cut down on calories completely, up all your exercise, and you get there. You fit into the dress, you feel and look amazing. And then on the day of the wedding or whatever the event is, you splash out. And you go back to your normal habits. And then what happens normally is that you end up putting on all the weight you've lost, all the fat loss you've achieved, and probably then some as well. So there is really a psychological reason for this. And it applies to many areas in life. Fat loss or weight loss is just one of them. And it's mainly to do with your why. So do you really understand why you want to lose weight or achieve fat loss? So like I said, what you can do is really, if you can get clear on why you want to lose your weight, it gets a little bit easier. And I guess in this situation as well, the goal needs to be at least maybe medium or long term. So really, why do you want to lose weight or achieve fat loss? And it could be something really related to a different driver than what you think it is. So it could be related to how your own self-confidence. It could be related to how you feel in your relationships. It could be how you feel in your working relationships, personal relationships. Do you want to feel more comfortable in yourself so that you can be more honest or open, or feel more at one with yourself? Those kind of things. It can be anything really, and that's why I think the why is so important, because if you're not really clear on it, then the road to getting there is always going to be a bit all over the place, because you don't exactly know why you want to get there. So if you can get really clear on your why, the rest will become easier. And there's lots of kind of goal setting techniques and finding out your why online. I can share some links with you on that as well. But it's really, this is why I put this one first. Because I think we all think we know why we want to lose weight or achieve fat loss. But sometimes if we just took 10 or 15 minutes to really sit down and connect with ourselves and understand why, then it might be a bit different. The outcome might be a bit different to what you think, and actually getting there might become a bit easier. So then the second myth is eat less, move more. So I know my friends' parents might say this, or I would have been told this when I was younger as well, if I wanted to lose weight. It's simple, just eat less, move more. Eat less, move more. I heard that so many times growing up. And like, to some extent, I suppose it is true, but not as black and white as that. You need to understand what the eat the less means, and what the more means in move more. So really what I'm talking about here is, like what I said in the title, it's eat well and move smart. So really what you should be doing is avoiding putting your body into starvation mode. So if you eat less than what your body actually needs to function, you can calculate what you need to get in calories online. There's calculators all over the place. But if you don't feed your body enough of the good stuff especially, your body will go into starvation mode. I'm sure you've heard of that before. Now, it's not as dramatic as it sounds. You know, what happens is your body will just start to store food as it comes in instead of burning it as a fuel source immediately, which is what it would do if you were fueling yourself regularly. But what it can do, if you do this repeatedly, like with the yo-yo diets, or, you know, cutting back in calories for a certain short-term event and then going back to normal again, you can really impact your metabolism. Your metabolism can get sluggish. You start storing a lot of food then as actual, as fat, because fat is a better storage source than any of the other storage sources of fuel in your body. So this is where it has the biggest effect on fat loss. So what you really don't want to do is eat less and move more. So you don't want to eat less calories than you need and then move, even burning off more calories than you've actually fueled yourself with. So my top tips here would be, there's a couple. Try and eat well every 3 to 4 hours. And what I mean by eating well is the next point then. Each meal or snack, you know, however you want to define it yourself, it should contain a healthy balance of proteins, carbohydrates, and nutrients, and fats as well, of course. You need fat to burn fat, as you can see in the third point there. But what you really want to do is make sure you get a balance of the right foods. There's some great apps out there like MyFitnessPal, you may have heard of it. If you did want to just get into the swing of things and get used to what an actual balanced plate or balanced diet would look like or would feel like on a day-to-day basis, you can input all the food you eat into MyFitnessPal, and at the bottom you'll actually see a nutrition breakdown of what you've had that day, and you'll see maybe you're having more carbohydrates or less fats or vice versa. It could be anything, but it gives you a really good idea of where the nutrients and the macronutrients and micronutrients are breaking down in your current diet. Like I said, don't exclude fat. Your body needs fat to burn fat. So any good fats like nuts or seeds, oils for cooking, that kind of stuff, don't avoid them. You do need them. You know, we do need a certain amount of fat in our diet. And then the final point then is exercise smartly, not more. So really, you know, you don't need to walk the legs off yourself to try and lose fat. What you should be doing is kind of smarter exercise, maybe high intensity for shorter periods of time. But find something that you enjoy. You know, it could be dancing, it could be anything, but you don't need to do more. You don't need to keep walking to try to lose weight. There are alternatives. So moving smartly is my advice there. So then the third myth, drinking water leads to water retention. I've heard this a lot from my own clients as well. People are sometimes reluctant to drink water, especially I used to do Unisim classes, and people would you know, avoid drinking water during that day to try and make sure they achieved a loss on the scales. But it actually doesn't work like that. You should be, in case you weren't aware, you should be drinking at least 2 liters of water every day and sipping that throughout the day. So that means taking on a little bit every 20-30 minutes for it to take the best effect. You need water for all of your bodily functions. So if you don't get enough water and you're a bit dehydrated, you'll notice this on your externally. So you might feel a bit tired, dry mouthed, that kind of thing. But it will also affect your internal bodily function, so your metabolism or your digestion and that kind of stuff, and they can also get sluggish. Now, what happens for some people if they aren't drinking enough water, and then you suddenly up your water intake, it can take some time for your body to get used to that. It may retain some of that water, thinking, oh, we haven't had this much water in quite a long time. I need to store it for when I need it in the future when we don't drink water. You know, the body's quite intelligent. Or you might end up it might feel like you're just flushing the water out. But after a couple of days, your body will regulate itself and it will get used to that intake of water and it will use it perfectly. And it will not lead to water retention, I promise you that. There are ways. I know some people really, really don't enjoy drinking water. They just don't like the taste, or they just feel like it's something they don't enjoy doing, or they really have to force it. If you drink herbal teas or non-caffeinated teas or drinks like that, you can include them as part of your 2 liters of water. If it makes it easier for you to take them on board, totally fine. But caffeinated drinks like tea or coffee, green tea even, I wouldn't count those towards your 2 liters of water, because they can actually dehydrate you. The caffeine can dehydrate you. So. And that's me actually taking a drink of water while I'm speaking. So yeah, just make sure you try to get those 2 liters of water in. If you're doing more activity or if the weather's very warm, increase that as well, and your body will regulate itself, definitely. The fourth myth, so this might sound a bit corny, but I eat porridge every day. That's plenty of fiber. I get this one a lot. And for a lot of people, myself included until recently, I wasn't aware of actually how much fiber we should be getting every day. So we need between 24 and 35 grams of fiber every day. Now, I should have hidden this next point just as one of those shock reveals, but do you know how much fiber is in a bowl of porridge? So about a 30-gram portion of porridge. It's just 3 grams of fiber in there. Now, there are some cereals that are higher, but in general, a lot of cereals don't have that high an amount of fiber. So if you consider it that way, you're just getting 3 grams of porridge at your breakfast. If you're not getting another real fiber source during the rest of the day, it's going to be a struggle to really even get to maybe 10. Portion of veg is maybe 3 grams, a portion of fruit is about 3 grams. So it'd be hard to get to 24 grams with those. And we also have 2 different types of fiber as well. There's soluble fiber, and it's a kind of a soft, sticky type of fiber. And then you also have things called roughage, which is found in whole grain foods and foods with bran added, that kind of thing. But definitely the best sources are the ones that are easily to get. It would be very difficult to eat maybe 10, 12, 15 grams worth of porridge. It's quite a lot volume-wise, but there are some sources of food that are great for that. Now, I know beans aren't really to everyone's liking. Other things like seeds, you can see lentils there as well, things like that, they're really good sources. So just check them out. You'll find the amount of fiber in foods out there. And cereals too. Check cereals out there. Some of them are great. Are great sources of fiber as well. But beans really they pack the best punch really of all the food sources for fiber out there. As you can see, a half tin of chickpeas is 10 grams. So if you made something like a bolognese or it could be a curry or something like that, and if you put in a half tin of chickpeas into that, or a half tin of kidney beans, it would be great in a mince-based dish like a bolognese or something. If you put in a tin or 2 tins within the meal, if you're cooking for 4, that's 10 grams of fiber right there. That's nearly half of the amount you'd need. For women, the reason I put this range here is because everybody's slightly different, but for women, we're kind of looking at the lower scale. So we're going from the 24, 25, 26 kind of grams. So you get plenty in there, Seeds, nuts as well, they're good for fiber as well. So it's just to create that awareness as well about where you need to go to get the fiber into your body. Okay, so our next one is dye foods will help me lose fat faster. So this goes back to the second point we had as well. To lose fat, you have to eat food, not food-like products. Now you might have heard of this before. Like anything that's very processed is a food-like product. So if you see any diet bars or diet foods or diet ready meals or anything like that, they're food-like products. They're processed quite heavily, and you kind of know that by the list of ingredients and things on the backs of them. So what they're doing is not really giving their body the nutrients and the fuel it needs kind of long-term. And that, when it comes to fat loss, means that you won't achieve fat loss long-term. It's just a kind of a short-term solution. It may work short-term, but it's really not going to. It's not going to allow you to achieve fat loss long-term. So when we talk about what your body needs to burn fat effectively and efficiently, one of the things it needs is fat. So if you cut out fat, then your body won't burn fat as effectively. And this applies even to so-called health foods like health bars or those breakfast bars, things like that. Just be careful or be aware as well. Even we'll talk about this a little bit later when it comes to things that are currently kind of in vogue or popular, things like gluten-free. Not to say that people aren't really genuinely gluten intolerant or celiac or things like that, but there is a huge market out there creating gluten-free products. It could be a gluten-free chocolate chip muffin. And I think sometimes it gets confused that they're a healthier option, and you can have 2 of them. But if you look at the back, they're very processed. They have to replace things to make the food taste and feel like it's not gluten-free. And they're not any healthier an option than a regular chocolate chip muffin, for example. But it's just to be aware, that those options aren't always as healthy as they appear. The simplest way, the easiest way I can kind of break this down is to say, as much as is possible and wherever is possible, you create or prepare your own food, make your own meals with fresh ingredients. Now, of course, we can't avoid certain tinned things, like we were talking about kidney beans there a minute ago. Sometimes things like tinned tomatoes and stuff like that. their life is busy. It's very busy for people, and it's not always easy to, you know, make your own sauces from scratch and things like that. But those are perfectly fine, you know. They really are a good go-to option. And if you make your own meals, as much as is possible, or batch cook any way that works, you're really onto a winner there. You really are. You know exactly what's going into it. It's easy for you to track where the good stuff's coming in, or maybe where the bad stuff's coming in. You're really in control then of what your food intake is, and that really does help with fat loss as well. So I'll go on to the next point next. So this is a great one, and this is something I know myself would have been guilty of too. If I overindulge, I can work it off. So if I have a bad week or bad weekend, I can go out for a walk, I can go out for a run, I can go to those spin classes, circuit classes, and burn it off. So short term, and you may have seen the effects yourself, it may be possible to exercise the excess away. So you may have gotten away with it for a certain amount of time, but in general, this won't work for long-term fat loss. It's very difficult, and especially if your diet is poor, you may lose weight, but you may not lose fat. And I mean body fat. What happens is that you might feel, you know, you might look the same on the outside, or maybe with your clothes on, and you know, you may start getting things like cellulite or more fatty tissues in your body as well. So that's really not what you want. The best way to do it really is to take care of your diet and take care of your food intake. Because it is true what they say, you can't outrun a poor diet. You may for a little while, but it'll catch up with you, it'll win the race in the end. Not to say that you can't obviously have treats and things like that, but if your diet is poor, or if you find you're using exercise to compensate for it, that's only, you know, that's finite kind of a solution, it won't last. And when it comes to fat loss, no matter what way you cut it or chop it or what way you want it to be, you'll make 80% fat loss gains through diet alone. So really, it's what you eat, what you put in your body, how you fuel yourself will get you most of the gains. And then the exercise is the absolute bonuses at the end, and the things that make you feel great. I'm a big advocate of exercise, and I don't want to take away from it, but when we're looking at fat loss here, it's really diet is number one if you can get your diet right. So my top tip for this, no matter what fat loss stage you're at, so no matter whether you want to lose 5-6 stone of fat, whether you're down to kind of your half stone, that you're just trying to, that last 7 pounds that you want to budge, make sure you get your food intake right first. Even if you're really nearly there, you may need to tweak a couple of things just in your food intake, and then your body would benefit from exercise. So actually your body would be more effective and more efficient at fat loss through exercise, and it's win-win. Okay, so then this is our second last point now. I just need to be tougher on myself. So this is really a myth. This is a big myth that I've seen as well. So I haven't any of the points here, it's for quote. And that will become clear in a second. I'll just go through a couple of things here, or maybe an example that might sound familiar to yourself. So do you often start something new on a Monday? So Monday morning you say, okay, that's it. I'm staying away from biscuits, or no more crisps for me. I'm going to be absolute angel all week. And then by Thursday, you've fallen off the wagon and you decide, well, that's it. I've crashed now. I've had 2 biscuits. I might as well have 10 and go for broke. Like, this is not a one-off. This is not something that you're guilty of on your own. This happens, I think, to the majority of us, really. And you know, that's fine. We can get back on the wagon again. But what the really detrimental part of that is how we speak to ourselves, and how I've seen people, how I've seen clients speak to themselves, and how I've done myself, or seen family members or friends speak to themselves when this happens. Like, they say things like, these might sound really familiar to you as well. So, oh, that's so typical of me. I can't even do something for 1 week. I can't even stick to it for a week. Like, oh, what? I'm such an idiot. Like, I know this is bad for me. I should just stop. Why don't I stop? Like, what's wrong with me? Or, yeah, here we go again. I knew it. I said on Monday that I'd be good, and here I am. I couldn't even last a week. I don't even know why I bother. I'm such a loser. Now, that, like, even saying those words out loud actually would kind of hits you emotionally, you know, just saying those things out loud. But we say those things to ourselves in our heads so often, it's not even funny, I think. Like, imagine, for example, those phrases I just said there, if someone spoke to your own child like that, or maybe to your parents, or a sibling, or a friend, or anybody. Like, if they told them they were an idiot, why did they bother? They're such a loser. Typical of them to always quit, that kind of stuff. Like, you wouldn't put up with it. But for some reason, we think it's okay to talk to ourselves like that. So what we need to do, this is a habit. This is something that has become part of a lot of people's kind of internal psyche about who they are, or how they view themselves. So that's where the saying comes in here. And this is a saying from Gandhi, and it just, you can read it yourself. I'll go through quickly. So your beliefs become your thoughts become your words become your actions become your habits become your values, and your values become your destiny. So that starts with number one, your beliefs. So if you're speaking to yourself like that, if you believe that you're a loser, or believe that you're such an idiot, or believe that you're not strong enough, or you're too weak, then this is a cycle that will follow through. And in the end, it'll become your destiny. You will become someone who actually views themselves, and who might be viewed by others because you're putting that out there, as those terrible things you said about yourself. So bear that in mind next time if you're beating yourself up for not sticking to your plans. Like, we all make plans, and trying to make action on them is the biggest step. That's the biggest step you're making. You're actually decided you want to take action. But they can always fall. You can always, those plans mightn't stick, and you might try something different. But the best thing is to try and change how you speak to yourself, and treat yourself much more kindly. So maybe change it to something like, yes, I am worth taking the time to get healthy again. I know I can make plans and stick to them. I've done it before. I'm in work. I make plans. I'm the best, most organized, the most plan-oriented person in work. I can do this, and I know I can because I've done it before. I will achieve my goals, because when I do, I will feel like dot, 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 dot. And that dot, 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 dot that I mentioned there, that's what you would associate with your long-term goals that we talked about at the start. So why you want to, okay, so you could say, I want to lose 2 stone. I want to lose 2 stone of fat because I know it will make me feel so much more comfortable in my relationship with my partner. And this is where you can kind of join these two together. So I will achieve my goals, because when I do, I will feel much more comfortable with my partner. We'll have a much happier relationship because of, I will be much more comfortable in myself. I can be more open, and things like that. However it is for you, but just remember that really don't speak to yourself the way you would not speak to somebody else. So don't put yourself down. Like, only speak to yourself the way you would imagine speaking to somebody else, is what I'm saying here. So that's an important one. That's a tough one, but really try and work on that one if you can. And then the last one, this might sound a bit tongue-in-cheek or a little bit insincere, but I can lose 3 stone in 1 week if I drink apple cider vinegar. Now, I don't want to pick an apple cider vinegar. I think it's just the most recent kind of fad that's out there. And we've, like, again, and I say these are, why they're common myths is because we've all been guilty of them, or we've all been kind of sucked in at some stage by one of them. It could be anything. It could have been 20 years ago where there's no fat passed our lips for 2 months, or it could be the most current one, like apple cider vinegar. Just remember that if something like that, so if you see a big statement on the front of a newspaper, in the front of a magazine saying, I lost, I've seen that 3 stone in a week, but I lost 7 pounds in 1 week just by drinking apple cider vinegar. That seems too good to be true. And if a claim seems too good to be true, then it almost always is. This is, it's a fact. It may be possible to lose 7-9 pounds in 1 week by just drinking apple cider vinegar. What you're doing there is probably just losing fluids more than anything. That's not going to lead to long-term fat loss. We all live in hope. We all want to believe those things are true, but very often they're not, and they're not going to be something that will stick for a long time. And another point, that's where I think the media as well probably has a lot to answer for, and I don't want to go on a rant about the media or anything like that, but we see it all the time in papers. There's, benefits of superfoods, new superfoods, so it could be chia seeds or chai seeds, it could be apple cider vinegar, it could be gluten-free, everything. And it seems like they're going to be a cure-all for everything, and really we're going to achieve fat loss with them, by consuming them in copious quantities. And then the other side of it is kind of, really going down heavily on other things, like, I just call them devil foods there, but the evil foods like sugars and fats, for example. Like, I think sugar is the one that's gotten the worst rap recently, and I'm just going to go through that one a little bit here as well. Sugar and fat, there's a type of there, can still be consumed in modest quantities without putting our health and fat loss at risk, and that's for sure. Like, I think with the way sugar is being approached in the media, particularly at the moment, I think our focus is too much on things like added sugar or hidden sugars, and we get kind of almost, I don't know how you could say it, but we almost get kind of hypnotized into thinking, oh, it's stuff for hidden sugar and everything. There's a problem with labeling at the moment in that we can't tell what's an added sugar and what's a naturally occurring sugar. For example, yogurts would be a good example. Most sugars in yogurts are naturally occurring. But no matter what way you cut it, or no matter what way you slice it, the biggest culprit when it comes to excess sugar intake is the stuff we know is purely, its main ingredient nearly is sugar, and that's soft drinks and sugary junk foods like chocolate bars and things like that. So I think it's to find a little bit of balance there, not to over extol the benefits of one particular food and then really cut on so heavily on another food that we kind of lose account of what's real and what's a really healthy approach, which is a balanced diet. A balanced diet, no matter what the current fad is, and no matter what the current kind of thing that is in vogue when it comes to fat loss is, a balanced diet and smart activity, smart movement are really the most important things. So just remember that as well when it comes to sugar. Things are like, just do your research. If you're not sure, do your research and don't just take those headlines to at face value. Because when it comes to it, then the last thing here is that something is healthy, and I mentioned this already, it doesn't necessarily mean it's calorie free. So for example, gluten free does not mean calorie free, and that's again not picking on gluten free. I have relations, I have people in my family who are actually very, very strongly gluten intolerant. So I don't mean to come down on that at all or pick that as an example twice, but it is one that I've seen with clients that it's like there's some kind of connection between something being gluten-free that you can eat much more of it. Gluten-free is there for people who have gluten intolerances, or even if they want to just change their diet and they feel like being gluten-free is healthier. But it doesn't mean you can eat more or take on more or eat things that are overly processed. You can still make brilliant gluten-free foods from scratch. You don't have to buy these kind of so-called health foods that are gluten-free, bars and stuff like that. They're not necessarily what you want to look for. So that's it. That's my top 8 myths busted. So I'll come back on screen with you now for a second. So I just stopped screen sharing there. Okay, so I'm back again. I hope that all went out okay. Yeah, so they're my top 8 myths. They're important to think for people as well. We do get a lot of information out there. Sometimes there's information overload, and we can't tell what's actual fact or what's just media hype or what's going to work for us or what's not. So I really hope that this webinar was helpful for you. And if you have any questions or you want to get more information or you'd like to check out what courses we're doing to really get this really, I think, balanced approach to fat loss and to improving our diets and lifestyles, you can check out on Facebook. I'm under Carrie Smallplate Health and Fitness. You can email me, that's carriesmallplate@gmail.com. My number is an Irish number, 087 970136. Or you can check out our Facebook group as well. We have a Facebook group. It's called Healthy Fit Females Over 30. And you can check that out too. And I'd love to hear from you. If you have any feedback or anything, let me know. And I hope that went well for you. Thanks a lot, everyone. Bye.